Hi, my name is Tommy, and today we're going to talk about DeepSeek and the different ways in which you can render models, both online and locally. DeepSeek has made the news for being on par with OpenAI's O1 model and Google's and Anthropic's best model. It seemingly came out of nowhere and it surprised everyone by its high benchmarks. DeepSeek R1 is called a chain of thought model, and it's similar to OpenAI's O1 and O3, and they are capable of completing more difficult tasks by splitting them into steps and doing one step at a time. If you've ever used ChatGPT O1 or O3, you probably seen the chain of thought indicator when using these models. Chain of thought models are more difficult to train because you need much more training data. In a normal LLM, we only need the prompt and the answer or the next word for training. In a chain of thought model, we also need all the steps, intermediate steps that are required to arrive to the conclusion. So you need much more data, high quality data. And due to this complexity, it was widely believed that a chain of thought model was out of reach of any small tech company. But DeepSeek was developed by a small company. In fact, it's part of a Chinese hedge fund called High Flyer, so it's definitely not into the big tech industry. Now, what makes R1 special is that unlike most other AI companies except Meta, the model is open source. And unlike Meta's Llama, it has been released under a very permissive MIT license, which allows you to basically do anything, including using that for commercial purposes. Another surprising fact is that DeepSeek has been trained with a modest budget and hardware. This is in spite of US export restrictions on AI chips. It was believed that it was impossible to train a large model without the latest AI chips, but somehow DeepSeek has been able to optimize the training process and use more obsolete hardware for the training. DeepSeek has also released models in various sizes to run locally and made available an online version that you can run on the web or as a phone app. The fact that DeepSeek exists seems to once more prove the article published in 2023 titled There is no moat. The article was reportedly leaked by Google, and it informs the management that small open source models can be on par with big tech models, multi-billion dollar models. So with that out of the way, how do we use DeepSeek R1? Well, the easiest way to get started is to go into chat.deepseek.com or by downloading the DeepSeek application from your app store. Both provide a very familiar interface by anyone that has used any ChatGPT or similar product. Once I logged in, I will need to activate R1 by clicking this button, and we are going to do a little puzzle to see the change of thought in action. Suppose you have a stack of three boxes. They are red, blue, and yellow. The red is on the bottom, on top of that is the blue, and on top of that is the yellow. You take the blue one out and put it on the top. Can you describe the stack of boxes? This is the puzzle we're trying to solve using DeepSeek. So we are going to paste the puzzle here and ask the question. And as you can see, here we have the thinking. So here we can see one of the things that make DeepSeek different is that it allows you to see the internal monologue, all the thoughts, all the reasoning behind the answer. So this is something that other models do not show, even though it happens in the background. And we can see the correct explanation, the correct solution at the end. If we do this with OpenAI, we're also going to get the correct solution. But as we'll see, it doesn't show all the chain of thought. For comparison, let's try OpenAI. Let's select the O1 model. So we have chain of thought and use the same question. And as you can see, it's faster, but it's not showing all the chain of thought. It just says that it has reasoned about box stacking for a couple of seconds, but you cannot see the internal monologue of the system. This is probably by design because OpenAI doesn't want us to know all the steps and wants to hide this complexity from us, but I appreciate that DeepSeek is more open on this front. So using DeepSeek online or with the application is definitely the easiest way to get started, but it also comes with a couple of catches. First, because it's so popular, it can be down or maybe has rate limits. It took me a couple of days even to be able to sign up for the service, so that is probably temporary, but it's something to consider. The main catch, in my opinion, is DeepSeek privacy policy. It allows them to collect basically all your data, everything you send, either via the phone or the web application or even the API. So that's something that's worrying because it's a lot of data they can be collecting about you, and you are basically agreeing to all this collection when you sign up. The second easiest way to use the full DeepSeek model is via HuggingFace. This is also an online service, but it's not hosted by the DeepSeek company. Instead, this is hosted by the HuggingFace company. The full model is hosted here, and you can run it for free up to a certain point. So let's try again the same problem here on Hugging Face. We need to go to the DeepSeek AI R1 model, and here we're going to have a chat box where we can put our puzzle and get the results. The interface is more crude. We have between the think tags the chain of thought, and it's going to arrive basically to the same conclusion and do the same thing, but instead of going to deepseek.com, it's going via huggingface.co. Now, Hugging Face also has a self-privacy policy, but in my opinion, I'm not a lawyer, but it seems a lot less permissive and a lot less aggressive when it comes to data collection. So this might be a better alternative to use the full model without having so many privacy concerns. The other advantage of Hugging Face is that it provides more models to test because the community can train new models and derive new models from DeepSeek, and you can try these models for free on the website or download them and running on your machine, so you have more options to pick from, not only the official DeepSeek model. But what if we are not comfortable with giving any data? Luckily, DeepSeek has released the model in an open source fashion, so we can download the model, run it locally, so your chats never leave your computer. So you can have a special machine, you can spin up a cloud server with a GPU or mount some kind of AI rig and run your model locally with full privacy. Let's see how this works. Ollama is a popular command line tool that has recently added support for DeepSeek. Now, before we can start running DeepSeek locally with Ollama, we need to talk about distillation. DeepSeek R1 has almost 700 billion parameters. It's way too large to run on reasonable hardware. The weights alone amount to 400 gigabytes, and we need a lot of memory and a lot of GPU to even load the model, let alone run it at a reasonable speed. Distillation allows us to make the best of the both worlds. We can have the complexity of a big model with a lot smaller size. The process basically uses two models. One is the teacher, the bigger, larger model, and the other is the student, the smaller model, which acquires some of the capabilities of the large models. In the case of DeepSeek, the community has created two variants, two families. In one, the student models is Meta's Llama, and the others is from Quen from Alibaba, and each have different sizes in parameters. So we have smaller variants in different sizes. The community has came up with some tables to calculate how much hardware and cost it would take you to run these models. This is only for reference. The main limiting factor here for running local models is memory and GPU. You need a powerful high-end graphic card with a lot of VRAM to load the bigger models. So to install Ollama, we go to ollama.com and hit download. We are going to see version for Mac, Linux, and Windows. The models we can reasonably run in this machine, which is a MacBook Pro with 8 gigabytes of RAM, are the DeepSeek 1.5 and 7 billion parameters. To download the models, once we have installed Ollama, we need to run Ollama pool, DeepSeek R1, and then semicolon, we are going to choose the size, in this case 1.5 billion parameters. This will download all the layers, and then we can start the model with Ollama run DeepSeek R1, and this will open a prompt where we can type our commands. Neither of these models can handle my logical puzzle, so instead we are going to ask the model to write a script to download training data from Hugging Face to fine-tune my model. And here is we're going to have also the chain of thought as always. And after thinking a bit, it's going to output some Python script that hopefully works correctly. And here we have run our inference using Ollama. If I were to have a bigger machine, I could run a bigger model with more capacity, which would be able to solve more complex tasks. Another way to run the model locally is with LM Studio. So we go to lmstudio.ai and we are going to download the version for our system, our operating system. LM Studio provides a more friendly GUI. We have more options to manage and download our models. We have more models to download, or it's more easy to tweak parameters, and we have a very similar interface as ChatGPT. It also offers an OpenAI compatible API, so we can easily run and build applications using LM Studio. The first thing we need to do is go here to discover, and this will open the mission control part. We're going to type DeepSeek, and here we're going to have some staff picks by the LM Studio staff. But we also have all the HuggingFace models that we discussed earlier. We can pick any of these models and run them locally. So LM Studio offers more options when it comes to running and downloading models. Let's pick the same model we use with Ollama, the Quen with 1.5 billion parameters, and hit download. This is going to connect with Hugging Face and download all the weights. So once downloaded, we can shut this window, go to the chat section and select the model. We select DeepSeek. We have all the parameters here. If we want to tweak them, let's leave the defaults. And here is loading the model. Here you can see the progress bar advancing as we load the model into memory. Let's ask the same prompt as before, a script to download training data from Hugging Face. The interface here is a little bit different. We have the thinking. We can see the thinking here is hidden inside this section. But if we want to see that, we can open that and see how it's running its chain of thoughts. And at the end of the chain of thought, we're going to see the result. This has the advantage of being nicely formatted. In this case, the model did not supply a script, only supplied steps, so probably I will need to prompt it again. But as you can see, it's very easy to run any model here using LM Studio in your machine. Running your local model is more complex, but it gives you flexibility and privacy. And while running the full model is probably out of reach for most individuals due to cost, it's very expensive in terms of memory and GPU. It is definitely within the possibility of small and medium companies and institutions. So DeepSeek has opened a new world. It has shown us that we can run LLMs that can compete with big tech, and we can run them privately without exposing sensitive data to third parties and having full control of the model. So that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. And I want to take this opportunity to invite everyone to the Semaphore Summit. This is on February 26th. It's going to last 3 days with talks about continuous integration and open source. We are excited to be announcing that Semaphore is going to be open source starting the end of February, and we'll reveal all the details during the conference. So if you are interested in open source, in Semaphore, in hacking Semaphore, or using Semaphore for free in your company, tune in. It's free and it's online. I will leave a link in the description so you can register. Thank you so much for watching, and see you on the next one.